For this edition of DaakBangla, I need to go back to 2019 when my old theatre group, the Red Curtain, was celebrating its 50th anniversary. The founder member, Shumit Lai Roy, and Katie Lai Roy, one of the finest directors I've worked with, approached me for the celebrations. They suggested that we should do some readings or performances of scenes of some of the older plays we had done. And I thought of the older plays that I had done, and there was no way I was going to wear tights and a loose smock on top with my rather over-large belly hanging over the tights, pretending to be a student from Wittenberg, Hamlet, or Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. These were the two plays that I had done with the group. So we decided that that was not a very aesthetically pleasing idea or visual. We decided to do something else, and we came up with this a compilation of various writings, and we called it An Evening with Mr. Tagore. An Evening with Mr. Tagore. And Mr. Tagore, because there were so many. I mean, this man was a sort of wonderful example of a Renaissance man at its best. So, and to pack everything into 1 hour of a one-act play was no. Hence, Mr. Tagore. However, I also have to thank Sushanta Dattagupta, who is the ex-Vice Chancellor of Vishwabharati, and his inputs, and some other people who also wrote for this, and I just cobbled it all together. So here goes. I'm going to read out the last bit of this play, this one-act play. This is Tagore talking about Shantiniketan. While all this was happening all around us, Shantiniketan had its own share of problems. It was slowly but surely descending into bankruptcy. My thoughts moved to Gandhi and the first time we had met. Though I must confess that even before we met, we had a healthy respect and regard for each other. I referred to him as the Mahatma, and soon the whole country called him that. He called me Gurudev, as many others did, but from him it felt better. It felt like it came from his heart. I met Gandhi first in 1915. Kaka Karlekar, one of our Adhyapaks, writes amusingly about our first meeting. I have it here somewhere. All the Adhyapaks, including me, he wrote, were consumed with a great desire to see how these two sons of Bharat Mata would conduct themselves in their first meeting. Sons of Bharat Mata. So we went into the drawing room with Babu. Ravi Babu rose from the sofa on which he had been sitting, his tall, stately figure, his silvery hair, his long beard, his impressive choga. All this went to make a magnificent picture. And there, in almost comical contrast, stood Gandhiji, in his skimpy dhoti, his simple kurta, and his Kashmiri cap. It was like a lion confronting a mouse. Come now. I was hardly magnificent and hardly a lion, and that man was anything but a mouse. He was indeed a huge Mahatma. I made a gesture inviting Gandhiji to sit beside me on the sofa, but as long as there was a carpet on the floor to sit on, the Mahatma was not going to sit on any couch. He settled down on the floor. I had to follow suit. Oh, my aching knees. Gandhiji and I met many times after that. We debated at length about subjects like the non-cooperation movement, which I disagreed with, by the way, heartily, and also about the eminence he gave the simple charkha at the time. I was sure that should we ever get independence, the charkha would become a symbol that would be misused by every leader of free India. Posterity, you will see, will prove me right. But we would take a break from these heavy matters of state and have deep philosophical discussions on the subject of luchis. He, of course, ate only fruit, and while taking a bite into an apple one evening, he wondered how we could fry bread in ghee to make luchis. How could you turn good grain into poison? He asked. It must be slow poison, I replied. I've been eating luchis all my life, and it has done no harm to me so far. Uh, Though I must confess he'd gone a bit too far when he linked the Bihar earthquake to the sin of untouchability. Oh, but by and large I admired him and supported most of his activities. His sole force against brute force, his fast for Harijans, demanding they be allowed entry into the Guruvayur temple. I wrote to the Zamorin of Calicut on this matter. It was soon resolved. His epic fast against Ramsay MacDonald in Yerawada jail, and so on and so forth. He was indeed not just a man, he was a Mahatma. I knew there was one man who, if he decided to put his shoulder to the Shantiniketan wheel, could drag it out of the path of bankruptcy. So I wrote to Gandhi. Vishwabharati is like a vessel carrying the cargo of my life's best treasure, and I hope it may claim special care from my countrymen for its preservation. For all our differences, and there were many, and not just in our ideologies, to the credit of the Mahatma, he responded the same day, saying, "You may depend upon my doing all I can in the common endeavour to ensure its permanence. Vishwabharati is a national institution. It is undoubtedly also international." And so Vishwabharati continued and still stands today. But once upon a time we were in possession of such a thing as our own mind in India. It was living, it thought, it felt, it expressed itself. Nowadays I fear for us. Thinking? Does anyone indulge in this rather necessary activity? Is one allowed to? And if they do, what happens with their thinking? Is it forgotten? Is it stored somewhere to be read and discussed in the future? Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by you into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. Led by you into that haven of freedom, I would like my country to awake. But where is my country? Where is India? Your call has spread over all the countries of the world, and men have gathered around you. The day has come, but where is India? Does she still remain hidden, lagging behind? Let her take up her burden and march with all. Send her your message of victory. Those who defied death and suffering have crossed the wilderness of death and have shattered their prison of illusions. That day is come. But where is India? She lies on the dust in dishonor.